Hey there, welcome to episode 116 of the Quaggling Sand audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo, recording this at 1:19 p.m. on Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Now, we normally release this audio program every Wednesday, usually early in the day, in the morning if possible. So this is almost unheard of that we're getting this going this early. So we're one day early, nearly 24 hours early, in fact. Congratulations. Episode 116, the title and topic of today's episode, Resumedar. A made-up word, perhaps, but that's kind of the name of the program too. If you're not familiar with the Quaggling Sand audio program, Quaggling Sand is a term that I coined when I was very young. It's a technical term. You probably use the lay version, pins and needles. It's the return of sensation and the sometimes uncomfortable return of sensation after maybe your hand or your foot or some other, maybe a limb, entire limb, has gone numb from lack of circulation. So circulation returns, Quaggling Sand. A reflection audio essay program, pretty much solo. That's me. Recalling stories, recounting tales. They may be interesting, they may be entertaining, they may be enlightening, educational, enlightening, and entertaining. Any or all of those. Who knows? Who knows? So thanks for coming by. If this is your first episode, check out the other 115 or so. And there is an episode 0. You could probably start there, as we all did. The title, Resumedar, is about a startup idea I had, but still a concept floating around in mind. So hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief summary of 2 sentences, which I will read. The links for today's episode are the channel links, if you will. They're the same every week. It's a homepage, how to find more. So nothing in particular about today's episode. There are some historical links, I suppose, but they're not that interesting. And we'll get to that. So let's get started so that we can get this done for tomorrow. So much time. I don't know what to do with myself. The summary of today's episode. There was a time when we all had one. They used to be the end-all and be-all of employment. Where are we today? Hopefully we have moved past this era, and then an ellipsis, as there always should be. The Quaggling Sand homepage, quagglingsand.com. That's QOGGLINGSAND, no space, .com. Quaggling Sand homepage will eventually be the primary point of publication. The existing places where audio programs are found will persist, but it's always good to own your own presence on the internet. The profile page linking everything, buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo, has been around for coming up on 5 years in March. It's a freeform profile page that I use to provide links to everything I'm working on, all of my audio programs, various projects, some affiliate links. You don't have to spend any money there if you don't want to. You need not buy me a coffee, but I have had that page there for 5 years, nearly. And it enables me to have that freeform profile link tree, if you like, outside of my normal websites. If you look at Quaggling Sand today, you'll see why that's important. That's it. The old ways. We're starting the show now. The old ways. Remember when you could print out your resume on nice paper, maybe a stack of them, and mail them off with nice cover letters to potential employers, hoping they would get noticed, the resumes. Maybe make it to the top of the pile on someone's desk, perhaps? Do you go without any accents when you write the word resume? With one over one of the E's, or both over the E's, the both E's in the word? Or do you lean towards the CV, or curriculum vitae, which is traditionally for the academic world, with more about life, publications, certifications, and all that? I don't know that we make those differentiations more recently. A CV and a resume are considered to mean the same thing, even though technically it's not entirely true. I used to maintain my resume in WordPerfect. That was a long time ago. Then Microsoft Word. And then probably some similar thing that was not Microsoft Word, but was trying to be like it. And later I was going with LaTeX, as one person pronounced it, or LaTeX if you like. That's kind of a typesetting language. It's used for books and so on. And when I was getting into the DocBook infrastructure, which used to be SGML based and then it became XML based, I used some combination of the DocBook DTD, document type description, and HTML output from the DocBook workflow. Could also output LaTeX. The HTML output tweaked for wherever I was publishing it, some style and so on. Basically, the old resume was one of those things one had to put together, absolutely true on finishing up college and trying to enter the job world. So, of course, you have to have a resume. That's the cost of entry, right? The barrier to entry was all that education, but you had to pay the price of composing and maintaining a resume. The summer and the winter of discontent. My resume was going with time. It was growing with time as I made my way through Silicon Valley the first time around. That was 1993 to 2001. And then I moved to Phoenix, having had enough of all of it. While living in Phoenix, LinkedIn was just launching. That was in May of 2003. Actually, more towards the end of my time there almost. I would move, well, it was kind of in the middle, I guess. As I was returning for round 2 in Silicon Valley, that would come in 2005. In the interim, having moved and before LinkedIn, we were doomed to post our digital resumes whenever and wherever there was a place to submit it. The reason, of course, to feed a resume into a candidate database so it could be parsed and matched against job recs, or in the case of Headhunter or similar agencies, they would need to replace a name and contact information with their own to maintain the potential placement and then all the commissions and other benefits of that. If you're going to do the math, this was a post 9/11 time frame, so you can figure out. Remember, I said I was there from 2001. In the case of Headhunt, I'm sorry, the place totally skipped to the previous paragraph. So as post 9/11 framework, so the job markets were crazy. And at one point, I printed out the list of positions I had submitted my resume to via Hot Jobs as one measurement. I think that was the one I was submitting the most to, or through, I guess. It was hundreds. It went on for pages. 300, maybe? More? Probably more. Probably a little bit more. Something like that. Plus the odd direct submission, a couple dozen perhaps, where you submit the resume directly through a website or even maybe email it to somebody. Attempted referrals, right? Hey, here's my resume. Can you get it to the right person? There was also Monster at the time, Monster.com. Correct a little typo here. Monster.com, Dice, maybe others. I became familiar with Indeed, and Simply Hired to try to find yet more possibilities. And there was the beginnings. And by the way, Simply Hired was the better website, in my opinion, at the time. Sort of. Indeed had a cleaner interface. Simply Hired had a more sort of detailed and maybe off-puttingly complicated and compared to Indeed, but I think the matches were better at the time. But Indeed was probably going to be the winner, and I think it probably did win. And there was the beginnings at the time of the write a custom resume and cover letter to focus on relevant skills to increase the chances of a match notion. So then you had to have multiple resumes, but with these websites, they would have you upload one and then they would just keep it for you. If you're going to apply 300 times, you can't write 300 different resumes and store them on Hot Jobs back then or these other platforms. So it was a little weird. To me, this always seemed disingenuous, though, to have custom resumes, like pandering. As those candidate databases became more and more the barrier to entry, got to get your resume in there and then get matched. If you're never matched, it doesn't even matter. It seemed to me that the database should be able to make the match, right? I mean, you have it. It should be able to match. So a complete CV, which, again, technically more of a superset of a resume, just put everything. And to me, a more likely platform for matching. If I have a CV with all of my stuff on it and I put it in your database, I shouldn't need to customize it. Everything is there. Now, some people would say, well, you gotta highlight certain terms. You can change the degree of description, perhaps. Okay. We're still getting matched with keywords, probably, and that could be a problem. Now, my idea, Resumedar. At some point, I received an email from a headhunter trying to place someone. And let me preface this by saying I had by then, worked on computer architecture. That was after my first tour of Silicon Valley, and had written software utilities, both on my resume, but not directly connected in context. So I'd received this email from some headhunter to place someone at a utility. I can't remember if it was electricity or water, but it was a utility company, a utility of some sort of a facility, working on the architecture of the buildings at that facility. And again, it was either water or electric. I can't remember. That sort of utility, though. So it was most definitely not the utilities that I had worked on. And, drawing walls and hallways and infrastructure and all that, that's not the architecture I worked on. To me, this represented something of an inflection point in my job seeker experience, where those candidate databases and matching algorithms were maybe going a little bit too far without at least a little bit of human sensibility, and most definitely without any useful context. Search for all the resumes we have in our database with the word utility and with the word architecture or architect. That's really not useful. The idea then was to flip that around a bit and make the resumes searchable where they are, on a personal website, as a document to pass around via referrals, wherever else, rather than depending on even acquiring this submission exercise repeated however many times, in fact, to face the sorts of outcomes I was experiencing, which were, let's be honest, they were garbage. Disappointing, perhaps, would be a nicer way of saying it. And that was way back then. To enable the job seeker to steer the matches a bit with more functional use of keywords or some hashtag scheme, or even better, an actual document structure, maybe XML or something like this. Remember, this was around 2003-ish. I had only barely become familiar with things like RDF and the semantic web and whatnot. And they had not really caught on so much in the general population, in the mainstream, if you will. Certainly not in the mainstream headhunter universe, to be sure. I remember back then it was, please submit your Word doc resume. Why a Word document? Because all of their parsing infrastructure, all of their ingestion of these submitted resumes were based on a Word document. So that's all they could accept. I only have an HTML document. Well, can you save it as a Word document? Can you convert it for me? I only have a LaTeX document. I have a DocBook XML document, which could arguably contain more information than a Word document. But nope, had to be a Word document. And also we got to strip off your name so we can put our agency contact information and get that commission money, the hourly, the riches, the rent seeking. So then, LinkedIn entered the picture. I know Indeed is actually still around today, but I think LinkedIn sort of shook things up just a bit. In the beginning, in 2003, when it first came out, it was what I would usually call a living business card around the time. To me, that was brilliant. In the Silicon Valley world, changing jobs was pretty common. I did it all the time. Figuring out where a former colleague or college connection was working could be a bit of a chore. Hey, are you still over there at, company A? Nope, company D. You kidding? A couple of, layoffs, company shutting down, got a better deal somewhere else. Silicon Valley was hopping. So yeah, figuring all that out could be a challenge. If you had their home or their personal phone number, that would be a way. And email was up and coming in a big way in the early 90s. By the time LinkedIn was around, everybody had an email address, of course. So that made it a little bit easier. Once you figured out where they were, you could actually reach out to them. Hey, remember we used to work together. Hey, let's connect on LinkedIn, whatever, right? When you could connect and you could see a recent work history and our current situation. First of all, that was kind of interesting. It's like when you go to your reunion. Oh, so what have you been up to? Well, so your LinkedIn profile would become catching up. Oh, wow, you worked at wherever? You worked at a lot of places. And then find those other connections, the second and third degree. Oh, do you know so-and-so? Yeah. Let me send an introduction. Yeah. Second and third degree connections could suddenly now become your first degree connections, even if you really didn't know them. It was an interesting idea back when individuals used to pass a resume to their manager, to the hiring manager, especially if it was someone else, even directly to HR or the part of the organization doing the recruiting. So maybe your insider, your friend, your former colleague, hey, you should come over and work at whatever in the whatever group. Give me your resume. I'll get it to the other department, or I'll put it through HR. Basically, a real personal referral. That was always nice back then. Suddenly, these people could observe these connections in a professional network graph on LinkedIn. Those two tools would evolve over time, but and a personal referral could be to the LinkedIn profile within that network instead of getting an actual resume and leaving it on a chair, perhaps in someone's cube. Those things really did happen. And eventually recommendations and whatnot. So you could get all this in a LinkedIn profile that you could pass to someone through an introduction or through hey, check out my friend from the former company. So it made the entire notion of referring resumes, it kind of came as a package. Oh, look, this is where they used to work. This is other people we have in common that we both know, et cetera, et cetera. And all this would be immediately included in the perusal of these resumes, for better or worse. Interesting indeed, no pun intended if you're familiar with Indeed, until Microsoft acquired LinkedIn. I think this probably was the beginning of the silliness. I would argue the beginning of the end, which took a while. LinkedIn has been around for over 20 years. But yeah, I think it was the beginning of a turning point. It's the badness is in full bloom today, in my opinion. So much AI on both the user profile side, so you can use artificial intelligence tools built into LinkedIn to make posts. Here's what I'm up to today. Here's my current mood. Here's lunch. Here's what I'm eating or drink. Hey, look, here's me sitting in a coffee shop. Here's me pointing at someone else sitting in a coffee shop, et cetera, et cetera. And then use AI to rewrite your description of this, whatever's going on. It's, so if you're posting, if you're maintaining your profile, AI is there to help. And then on the recruiter, the headhunter side, the business side, if you like, hey, find potential candidates using our AI matching algorithm. Let us help you write your job descriptions that you want to post on the hiring part of LinkedIn. It's like a full service, let's leave the humans out of the whole thing. Why even look for a job? Just have your AI robots battle it out. Some sort of battle bots, LinkedIn edition. It could be completely automated now. Let's leave all the people out of it. LinkedIn has become a primary professional social network. It's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of all of the networks. Like the most people rely on LinkedIn, usually for professional or business development, trying to get clients, etc. And it's certainly evolving, or maybe devolving, into a social media platform driven by algorithms and followers and Instagram style selfie posts, like I described, with all manner of advice about, wait for it, getting more followers. How neat is that? In fact, there are a ton of people now on LinkedIn. When I stopped using Facebook, before I stopped using Facebook, I did some experiments with I'll just follow all suggested or recommended people to follow. I'll accept all invitations to, people who want to, or friend request. Yeah, I'll add me as a friend, and I'll add you as a friend. So I got to the 5,000 person cap. So I had 5,000 friends on one of my, I think I had 3 Facebook accounts. Yipes. Kind of reduced the quality and my desire to participate in Facebook once you start seeing all aspects. So for LinkedIn, I started following more and more of I started at 5 followers, and now I'm at 50,000 with the selfie style, Instagram style photos. And here's how I did it. And you look at the title, I'm a LinkedIn profile consultant. So of course I got to brag about how many followers I have, so I can brag about how many followers I could get you, etc. So yeah, LinkedIn is, and I'm not the only one making this observation. LinkedIn is becoming Instagram, really, at the end of the day. So maybe Resumedar would be cool. The name is a portmanteau of resume and radar, of course. Hopefully you can pick that up. As in finding resumes as one might find an airplane in the sky. There's so many floating around. airplanes and resumes. Unlike stealth aircraft designed to evade radar, here we want a candidate actively or even passively looking for a job, whatever your situation, to be found such that the possibility of a useful outcome becomes more likely. Matches that make sense. No more utility architects when they are actually looking for utility architects or something like that. Matching on something more than plain old words. And theoretically, LinkedIn could do this, but I don't think they are. Over the years, there have been many attempts at useful structure, like a resume DTD, that's a document type definition, for XML or HTML before it. HResume, I think that was a microdata format for embedding attributes into HTML, if you have your resume as an HTML document. And then the last time I looked at Simply Hired, it had become a resume authoring platform to publish those in a visually appealing manner. That was about 5 years ago. From that side of things, it looked or looks as though Indeed had won. What was I thinking there? I literally typed ONE. I will admit I did write this yesterday or last night, 12 hours ago maybe. Happens. So they had won the matching competition. So Indeed.com, and people here in Vegas use it, for example. So all manner of jobs, they appear there. Hey, if you're looking for whatever, fill in the blank. Doesn't have to be just tech. Monster was not really tech. Hot Jobs, I felt, was a little bit more into the tech side. Dice is almost exclusively tech. Monster. Oh, so I'd actually checked. So literally as I was typing this, so whatever time it actually was. So Dice is still around, dice.com. And that's probably the first time I've been to that website in 10 years. Monster acquired Hot Jobs at some point. So if you type hotjobs.com, you'll land at Monster. Monster's still around. Monster and Dice kind of look similar now. So there's nothing really special or interesting. Simply Hired actually looks like it went back to something of a job search engine, but now it kind of looks similar to Monster and Dice. So there's nothing earth-shattering about those. And Indeed still has this simple kind of Google style when you land at Indeed.com. Very simple, very, very clean, I guess you could say, user interface to start. So Indeed is still there, and it is the one I hear about more often. And in fact, I've looked on there for different positions in Vegas to see what's around and whatnot. LinkedIn is absolutely in the candidate job matching game all the way, though. So to me, I mean, if you're still doing manual searches, you're still really not going to get human-ish results. I've never been impressed by what Indeed actually offers. I was always more interested in what Simply Hired was doing, but now it looks like everything is becoming just sort of meh. These platforms require a sign up of some sort. You log in, at some point a resume that can be sent to job prospects, kind of a one-click, apply to this job. There's probably an option to create a cover letter or some sort of introductory material that you can include. These can be found by headhunters, perhaps, or you're either going to be refilling forms with the usual fields across these different search sites, or uploading a document to be parsed, or maybe something else at this point, like having that profile already loaded into LinkedIn with your various professional, or maybe not so professional network connections of first, second, or third degree, not to mention your various selfie photos that you post in your timeline or feed or whatever they call it, along with the occasional recommendation from those colleagues and peers. You would think they would be more useful. I don't know. I don't know if people really care. I don't see them being posted so often. I think the recommendation section of LinkedIn got bowled over, kind of fell to the wayside as more and more features were added. So I don't know if the recommendation part of a LinkedIn profile ever got an opportunity to shine, really. It's really all about the network. And then, actually, though, it is funny. LinkedIn will still show that you have 500 or more connections, 500 plus connections, I think it says. But but you can have followers, people, so that you get some indication of how many people you may have as connections, because when you connect with somebody, you also follow them. So you can see, you have 500 plus connections, but you have 50,000 followers. You might have 50,000 connections. or 50,000 people who are interested in you at least. So there are some aspects of LinkedIn that are odd, but I guess it works. And it's motivation to create entire job categories around making more connections and adding more followers for whatever that's worth. These platforms require the sign up though, which I think is problematic for a couple of reasons. Now, the way they've implemented, I guess it kind of makes sense, but yeah, unfortunately for all the information LinkedIn has to work with, so you're having people sign up, you're logged in. If you're not logged in, well, I'll get to this in a second, but hey, you're not logged in, create an account or sign in. The occasional job recommendation or in-mail contact that I receive is about 90% outside the realm of good matches for me. I have a lot of stuff on my profile there, but not good matches. I mean, I don't really look on LinkedIn, but it's their side of the equation. They will send me something, or I'll receive an email which is a contact that you must pay for. So if you're a headhunter or recruiter, of course you're paying money because you're going to make that back. But I don't think I've ever received anything that was worthwhile. Plus, LinkedIn now is a scam center, so you'll get the hey, so I can put you in touch with my client. Give me your Signal contact information. That's a red flag. At the same time, no shortage of anecdotal postings so these are people in my first or second degree. Usually you'll get the, I don't know that person. Oh, they're second degree connection. So they know we have someone in common that we know. Usually it'll show, oh, so-and-so reacted to this post. So they liked it or celebrated or whatever. And then, so it appears on your feed. Oh, that sounds like Facebook, which of course it kind of is. So you see these anecdotes about I've applied for 6,000 jobs and I got nothing in response. Nobody ever bothered to reply which sounds like a true story. I don't know if 6,000 is an exaggeration, but it's within the realm of possibility because this whole process is made easier with automation and now AI tools, so they can apply to jobs for you. I guess not a good look in my opinion, the way this whole thing has devolved into turning a crank, and I think we can do better. So yeah, Resumedar was trying to do better. So legacy meets modernity in my notion. So here's the interesting thing in the emerging slop of AI in the human-facing internet space. AI tools can make use of semantic data. Remember I mentioned earlier, semantic web, RDF, triples, which can be more efficient, more accurate, and generally easier to deal with than parsing human written, or maybe worse, AI written text that is intended for human consumption, which of course means AI consumption. You know, the words, the font, the page layout, the ordering, how you put things on the page. Should I put my experience first or my objective? Should I even have an objective? Who cares, right? You know, the look and feel of your resume doesn't matter anymore. It's not really material. As long as it can be parsed. I mean, a human is less and less likely to see it ever in the form that you publish it. So yeah, who cares? You can just get your generative AI tools to publish it in whatever format you want, right? Once it writes it, spit this out as a block left, objective first, or whatever. Who cares? Who really cares? Semantic web, on the other hand, RDF, OWL, schema.org, all these are structured documents, structured data formats. Triples are an interesting thing. We'll talk about those some other time. You can check out RDF as a starting point, or OWL, and more. All this stuff has been around for a while, decades, and they are still in use today, believe it or not, which is good because if there are some cool ideas in there, including the use of triple data to represent what you might express for humans in a resume or CV, but with meaningful context and explicit connection, making use of these structured data ideas and tools that can be immediately consumed by computers, right? Machine readable is often used in this case. So you structure your document not in a semantic way for humans, but in a semantic way for machines. So you label something specifically as here's an experience, in a professional job experience, a start date and end date. These are specifically, explicitly tagged or marked with attributes and so on. Or you can create an RDF document in any number of formats, and you can even, you can embed that data into your human document. So a human could read your resume, a computer could find it and say, oh, you have a structured data block here. You have some JSON LD that has all the relevant information I need in a format that I can use without spending time trying to parse you silly humans and your text, your grammar, your vocabulary. So now the concept of Resumedar could be implemented making use of a CV vocabulary. So you can construct the relationship between the structured data labels and infrastructure of how they fit together and what they mean and how they connect to each other and so on, which could be built upon existing entity vocabularies like job and education and publication and whatnot, and some other options. These are extensible vocabularies by design, and we can make use of that. So spiders crawling the web are standard now, maybe a bit too standard. They're everywhere, especially scraping for AI training. So someone could publish their structured CV in some well-known spot on their own website or wherever, use a standard discovery method similar to what RSS feeds use, so they're found today, or they can be submitted so that structured data intended for machine readability and use can be read and used with what we have today and what's existed for decades. All these tools exist, and they have for years or longer, which means it could be done, and it would not be a substantial undertaking other than a culture shift. That's probably the most difficult part. But then there's the AI. So here's the sort of funny part. AI tools can ingest structured data specifically. They are literally doing that, and they're making good use of it. Consumption of knowledge graphs, social graphs, and other such structure is just another day scraping the internets for your RAG, your retrieval augmented generation, or agentic, or whatever else you're doing with AI, or whatever's coming on the horizon. We don't need to burn tokens parsing a human CV or resume if we can ingest the structure itself, parse it, and save it to the triple store, a database for the structured data incoming, I guess, input. Store your structured data in a triple store database, and then you can find it in any way you like, including relations between, like, oh, this is a thing that is described as a start date, so it already has meaning instead of being words on a page. Those parsers don't always work well. You got to use that Word document, and then you can apply some AI magic to all of it, or maybe some other matching ideas to come up with better candidate job matches, or job candidate matches, if you like, than we are seeing today, maybe. So, and the very notion of Resumedar right up front was to be able to say, I want to find jobs using these keywords, right? So you'd embed them in your document or in your however you're publishing your resume in the Resumedar universe, so that rather than saying, oh, you did utility architect, you'd say, oh, you are looking for roles in this general area, you're looking for a technology development, you're not an architect, right? Things like that. So it's a little bit more explicit. Of course, we've come a long way since 2003-ish. So it's now possible to make use of the legacy of semantic web and structured data with the modernity of AI tools that can apply a little bit more, I hesitate to use the word, but intelligence, machine intelligence, to how matching takes place. Maybe. I'm not a fan of the AI interlopers in this whole thing. As I mentioned, it would appear AI is working with AI to write resumes and then read them. Where did the humans go in all of this? I guess if they're going to replace people's jobs, they may as well start now. It is something to deal with, though, for now. So I would say one could still author a resume with whatever they want on it, I guess you could say, whatever they want to look like, etc. Using whatever words and display and whatever layout and style. Does it really matter? Again, not really, except if you're handing it to someone or they're viewing it in a context that you control. Once it gets parsed and stuffed in a database, it doesn't matter. Right? Parsing the document is something that still makes sense and is representing what the individual wants to publish, can be done locally. And that structured data could still be published. So in other words, you as a normal person don't have to construct this structured data document. You don't have to write a notation 3 or XML or JSON LD representation of your CV. You can just write it like a normal person, and you have your own AI tools if you want, or whatever other parsing and interpreter that would turn this into structured data. And then you could look at it and say, yeah, that makes sense. That is the start date. That is the end date. That is my experience. That is my educational background, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of give it the once over twice. And then you can say, yeah, this is my machine readable CV. And so the machines could still find it and apply their own AI magic to all the various documents collected, but they would be structured documents. So hopefully you're not running into the utility architect situation. And we get both sides of the same coin. So you still have a human readable, original, authoritative version of your own experiences as you would describe them. Then you have your own tools that would parse it into something machine readable. That way machines are not going and trying to parse your human readable document and then ending up with whatever it is they end up with. You get to steer that by providing the structured data version of your background, and it could be embedded in the same resume, etc. So these are problems that are actually solved, which is kind of cool. That thinking about structured data 20, 30 years ago, trying to remember, actually, I think it was longer. It was probably more like 40 years ago. Structured data is actually coming into play now so that artificial intelligence tools can try to figure out what you humans are doing. Oh, thanks for the digital hints in this structured data. This, by the way, is an approach that could still be used for other things as well, like matching co-founders in startup land, matching dating prospects instead of going by silliness, or friend prospects if you want to throw together a meetup. Hey, everybody with these interests, you want to gather for whatever it is. And surely there is more down those roads. And this is the magic of structured data and network graphs. Even LinkedIn could be taken home, so to speak, so that each person owns their own profile and can make those professional network connections themselves and maintain them themselves, forming their own network graphs in the ways that they would like to, rather than in the ways allowed by the likes of LinkedIn. You can, if you are really curious, I will leave it to you. If you look for something called FOAF, F-O-A-F, friend of a friend. FOAF is a vocabulary for connecting people with various attributes, how you know each other, etc. Friend of a friend, you could, and this, I believe you'll find articles along the lines of the social network we could have had. So you basically could own your own network. You don't have to rely on friends and likes and follows and all that. You can maintain a list that other people could make use of. Oh, I see that you know 10 people that I know. Maybe I should find out who else we have in common. Oh, wait, it's still all there. I don't have to. Yeah. Anyway, the tools have existed for decades. This is a future I could get behind, though it is actually a present and a past, really. We've already opened this possibility, for better or worse. I think better. I'm profoundly disappointed with how LinkedIn has evolved over the last, well, I joined in 2003. So it'll be 22, it's 22 years. And then in August, 23 years, right? 2003, now 2003 in August, it would be 23 years. Who cares? It's been too long. I've watched it become, like I said, like Instagram. And I know, even if I'm not proactively looking, and, let's be honest, everyone should always be looking for opportunity. I have never found any success or any sort of quality connection through LinkedIn, unless I already knew the person. Then it's a matter of contact, not a matter of search and discovery. So yeah, I think we can do better. I think computers could work for us instead of for LinkedIn. Or other sites, anything that's algorithm driven. We're starting to see where the algorithm is not serving us, but serving the likes of X or Facebook or Amazon, of course, LinkedIn, most definitely, and the list goes on. So we are getting to the point where personal AI, that is AI that could run on your own computer at home, that's already happening, but not within your control. So at some point, maybe in the Gartner hype curve, as we move to the right down the curve, we hopefully will start to see where, okay, I can use these tools without it returning everything I do to the mothership or the home base, right? There was a when Internet of Things was starting to include smart toilets, for example. Massimo Bonzi of Arduino fame said in a presentation, I think it was at Maker Faire Rome, he said, "I don't want, I won't do the Italian accent. I don't want Amazon to know whenever I flush my toilet." And they pretty much do at this point, right? So I think as more and more of these tools become personalizable or usable in a home context, maybe we can swing back to like maintaining our own contact list and how we know people and how we met them. And, oh, I would like to find out if you're looking for work, or if what your skill set is, or do we have people that we know in common? These are all things that we could enable each person to possess the tools and data to perform those checks and comparisons and searches and so on. The Resumedar notion kind of is in that mix. And I think as I conceived it, so this was 2003-ish. So 23 years ago, soon. I don't know if I came up with it before LinkedIn. That would be a good question. I don't know. But yeah, today, I think Resumedar would actually be easier to implement, and it would be doable. It would be usable, but would it be used is the big question. Do people find any need? Do they have any desire to bring that capability back into their own control? Or is it, I don't know, LinkedIn takes care of everything. I just have to let them hide all the details from me and put up with what it has become. And you could fill in the blank, LinkedIn or any of those other companies. I think I would rather be able to, I think the return to the wild, wild west of the internet is hopefully a possibility. Anyway, that's the story of Resumedar. Will Resumedar ever make a comeback? If it does, it won't be called that. I don't think people would understand it as you and I do today, as I've described it. And even now, I really haven't gone into absolute detail because, hey, if it's a cool idea, I should actually just do it, not tell you how to do it. So that's the end of today's episode. Remember, check out buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. You'll find Buy Me an Update there on Mondays. That's a 5-minute or shorter, 5-minute or less. A quick rundown, last week's audio program topics, and then any news and announcements upcoming, updates. Don't forget to check out Coffee Solo. That's KOFI Solo, available first. Oh, by the way, Buy Me an Update is available first on buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts, and then you'll find it in the usual places, thanks to Spotify, Amazon, Apple, YouTube, etc. Same goes for Coffee Solo, published first on Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts. I don't really use Ko-fi.com for much else. The whole reason I started doing that was to see if people were actually using Coffee Solo, and it turns out the name is kind of fine for me. It's a little unusual. It's a completely unscheduled, unconstrained show. It doesn't get wild or anything, but I try to keep certain topics like politics out of my main programming, but the Coffee Solo could be anything. Could be published anytime, could be published multiple times per day, etc., etc. And then all the other stuff, you can find links to everything on buymeacoffee.com/danhugo. The freeform profile, which is unstructured data, is for human consumption. That's all I got for you today. Check out all the other various programs I produce each week. Thanks for listening. Take care now. Bye-bye.